Hi everybody, I'm Joey Paul and I'm an indie author and welcome back to my channel. I write young adult fiction across a variety of genres, and if you think that might interest you, then think about subscribing below. So I thought that today I would continue with the 10 facts series and talk about planning, both for writing, which I don't do much of, and for your time, which I do a lot of. The 10 facts about drafting will be linked up in the cards. So let's jump right to it. Number 1, planning saves time. This is true for both planning your time and also for some people planning for your writing. I mean, think about it. If you know how much time you have and where you're going to spend it and what you're going to write, then it's going to save you a whole bunch of time when you're trying to decide what to do next. I say that as someone who I said doesn't really plan much of their writing, and even the small amounts that I do doesn't really stay static while drafting, and I still find the little I do plan, the easier it is for me to sit down and decide what's going to happen in this writing session. Planning your time is along the same lines. It gives you the idea of what to expect, it gives you a chance to work out what you need to do and when you need to do it. If you know you have a deadline for the end of the month and you know that you've got X amount of words to write before then, you can work out how to divide those words on the days, and if you've planned the month, you know what is expected of you during that time. For me, it has been a lifesaver. It's been something I've been able to use to get my work done and stay on target and all the rest. It's been a time saver for me, and while that might not be true for everyone right out of the gate, it can be a tool that helps you stay on track. Number 2, planning is the same as drafting, occasionally. This fact applies to the writing side of things only. I've never been someone who does extensive outlines, but if that's you, then this might ring true for you. I do follow V. Schwab on Instagram, and she's mentioned before that she gets the same rush of discovery of the story as a pantser does, but she gets that while planning. So for her, it's the same kind of process, just happens at a different part, which I happen to think is pretty cool. Because of following her and seeing how she works, it felt like a good fact to include. It might be that it's not always the same, and that's why I said occasionally, because it all varies and everyone's process is different, but planning is not the enemy, it just works differently for some people, and that's okay. Number 3. Planning can guide you both in writing and in your day. I've been planning my time now for a number of years, and I found that because I plan to the level that I do, I've been able to settle into a nice routine and know when I can get things done. It means that I know at a glance that this day is for this, and I can leave everything else on the back burner. Like days when I need to write, my focus is only on that. I don't have to worry about coming across a problem that needs to be dealt with because of X reason. It means that I'm guided through my work, and it allows me to process and go through the day without too many hiccups. I say too much because there are always some. No life is perfect. Number 4, you don't have to plan the same as everyone. One thing that put me off planning my time for so long was that I never found someone else who wanted to do it the same way that I did. I don't set time blocks because I knew I was only able to work for such a limited time in the day. If you don't know, I do all my work early in the morning, and then I'm usually done and spend the rest of the day napping, relaxing and chatting to friends. And while I'll come to this in more detail in a moment, it was hard for me to work out how I could plan when everything was wildly different for me. And that's when you have to acknowledge that you don't have to plan the same as everybody else. You don't have to go to the same planner or the same goals or style or whatever. You can work out what works for you and go from there. Number 5. Learning how you work helps with planning. A big thing that helped me once I got into planning was learning how I personally worked. Like, I knew that I couldn't overload my plate, and a lot of those first few years of planning was trial and error. I have several chronic conditions that bring fatigue with them. I couldn't just keep pushing myself to burn out or flare and have that as a sustainable way of working. So if you know that you can only achieve a certain number of words or pages or scenes a day, then that will help with your planning. Well, yes, you can stretch yourself to push more. When you're first starting out, it should never be a case of pushing until you break. No one wants that. Number 6. Everyone plans differently. Like I said in fact 4, everyone approaches planning differently. Everyone has their own style and their own way of doing things, and there is nothing wrong with that. For me, I knew that a chapter a day was doable. I also knew that I needed days off writing, even if I was then working on something else like revisions or recording a video or writing vlog scripts and the like. How I structure my month works for me, but it might not work for anyone else, and it shouldn't have to, just because everyone has different commitments on their time and everyone has to work to their own pace. So do not be alarmed if you find that the way you plan, whether time, writing, etc., is different to how other people do it. We're all different and our brains work in different ways, and that's okay. Number 7. Planning, outlining can keep the words flowing. I have not been someone who struggles with writer's block for many years. I will say though that knowing what you're going to write will help you keep those words flowing. It's been something I know some people say only really affects pantsers, and that's not true either. I've known people who plan extensively and they still have times when the story is hard for them to know what happens next. That said, having some kind of plan, whether that's an outline or just the next plot point to aim for, can help make sure that the words will keep coming and flowing nicely. Number 8. Planning should be flexible. One thing I've always been clear on is that no plan should be set in stone. There should always, whether it's an outline or a schedule, be some flexibility in there. You want to have time where you'll be doing nothing, and you want to not have to make a whole new outline or ignore an idea that works well for the plot because you didn't already think of it and have it on your outline. There should always be some flexibility and wiggle room when it comes to planning, because life happens, ideas bloom, and being too strict with yourself will only hurt you in the end. Number 9. It allows you to express yourself. I've been posting the pictures of my spreads in my planner for a while now. I know I'm not the most artistic when it comes to them, but I like the way I can show people with a photo and a plan just what I'm hoping to achieve and when. Now if you're someone who can do bullet journaling, then you're showing off your artistic side, and that's never a bad thing. It lets people see part of you that maybe you normally don't share. And number 10. Planning helps with goals. Of course, this was going to be in here. I'm someone who's been setting goals for my writing work for a long time. I didn't always meet them, but since I got into planning my time more, that comes along with it too. Having a plan, breaking down each goal into smaller chunks and getting to see yourself getting closer and closer to the finish line is always going to be a help. Since I started planning my time and setting goals publicly, I've been able to break it down month, by week, even by day, and it's a great help to me. So if you have some goals that you want to hit, then making a plan will help with that. So there we go, those are my 10 facts about planning both your time and your work, and basically those are the ones that I could think of that worked for both topics. So yeah, what's your favourite fact about planning, whether that's your time or your work? Let me know in the comments down below. So that's all I've got time for today. If you want to support my channel, you can comment, like, or subscribe. I post new videos on Thursdays. You can find me all over social media, and my books are available everywhere, and you can also sign up for my newsletter. And don't forget to pick up Cramming Chronicles: The Second Pang, which is the second in a young adult urban fantasy series. And also don't forget to grab a ticket for Author City in Birmingham in July, where I'll be signing books. All the links for which are listed below. Thanks for watching, and remember to keep writing. Bye.